and we'll make this available sometime tomorrow on Facebook, and we'll send an email as well. Just like the other ones, we've got you on mute, but if you've got questions, feel free to put those into the chat box and we'll roll through those. I've got a few updates to share that maybe will take care of some of the initial questions. If I do get a repeat question, I'll probably just skip over it. If for some reason you didn't feel like I answered it enough, you can always retype it and we'll get to it at the end of the line there. So couple of updates on the permit side of things this morning. Latest update was they've got about 85 or 90 of the 138 drywall permits that have been released. If you remember the last time we talked, I mean, all the permits have been approved. The process is, though, they actually have to be issued to where we have a physical copy of them. So they've been coming in batches every morning. They're getting anywhere from 5 to 20 a day. But we're almost at the finish line with that process. Also, an update on the association packages. I was able to see a draft of packages from all of our vendors earlier this week, and we're going to they're going to make a couple of changes, a couple of fine polishes to them, and we are hopeful if we can get organized on each vendor's system for taking orders, answering questions, etc., hopefully to be able to release something later next week to everybody. So hang in there. Was definitely pleased with what these vendors brought forward. I hope it'll be a good option for some of you all that want to kind of go the turnkey route with restoration and not have to customize things. But we should be hopefully sometime, maybe latter part of next week, be able to release that to everybody and get that information out there. There's also a couple of some of your association boards probably have already reported this, but just wanted to remind everybody because pretty much everybody is into the drywall prep phase where they're doing the furring and the insulation or even into the insulation phase right now. But there are two different inspection processes that happen once they get into that point. There's an inspection that has to happen from Lee County for the drywall. I'm sorry, for the insulation before the drywall can be hung. And then there's also an inspection that happens once the drywall is hung to check the screw patterns. From what we've seen, that inspection process has gone very quickly. We don't think there's going to be any major delays with Lee County on that side of things, but those are two additional things that happen during this process that we were made aware of. So I'm just letting you know that in case you hear the word inspection come up. But we're led to believe it's not going to be a major delay with how we're doing things because we're doing it in such mass scale. They'll speed the inspections along very quickly for us. Actually have somebody on standby essentially for us when things are ready to be inspected. So update on Lexington amenities. Lexington's permits are one of the 40 or so that have not been issued yet. So we haven't started any of the drywall or drywall prep work, but I would anticipate that starting very soon. We have ordered some flooring for the fitness center, for the Island Club, as well as the social center. So our hope is once we are able to get working on that side of things, we'll have those amenities back up and running. We're going to prioritize the fitness center first. Then we're going to work on the social center next. And then we'll go back to the Island Club to finish up the fitness classroom and the rest of the Island Club building and restrooms, and then back to the clubhouse, the main pool restrooms. And then we'll do the maintenance facility and the guardhouse and the other ancillary buildings. So that's our process once we get moving with drywall prep as well. And last but not least, for those golfers out there, you probably already know this, but just an update that they made the decision yesterday, yesterday, Wednesday, no longer doing cart path only. So carts are allowed to go off the path. They are doing the handicap flag system again, and just asking everybody to make sure you're strict on the 90-degree rule. So the golf course has definitely done well, and our salt levels on the reclaimed pond have come back to normal. And that's what we were waiting on, was making sure that that salt level has tamed down in there. So, all right, we'll jump into some questions here. What's the plan for the excess tiki furniture being placed onto the Waterford pool deck? Yeah, so with the new tiki furniture that arrived, which were the tables and chairs, we've reached out to your associations to see if they're interested in any of the old tiki furniture to use on their pool deck. There's some of that furniture that's still in pretty good shape. So that was just part of the process yesterday. I don't have an update on that. That's something that Chris and Indra is working with the associations on to see if there's interest in that furniture. So I'd say give that a day or two to kind of play out, but that's the plan there before we toss that furniture to see if there was any use for it anywhere else. So once the situation is with the restoration and all is back to normal, are we going to be expecting an increase to our HOA fees due to the master flood insurance? Well, I think insurance policies definitely are something that we've got to be realistic about, that will increase moving forward. I mean, anytime you have a catastrophic event like this, with many claims across the region, you're going to for sure have increases in insurance. We saw that after Irma. I think the other thing that we've got to be realistic about is the fact that for many associations, I would say all of them but Sutton Walk, the property and wind insurance policy is the one that carries such a large deductible. And if you're not getting a new roof, if your roof isn't completely damaged where you need a new roof, then it's going to be probably pretty tough to reach that deductible on those claims. So associations are probably going to have some sort of fee increase or assessment to cover some of those hurricane expenses. Some have reserves for some of these things that will help, but that's all part of the process that I think we're still months away from figuring out the financial side of this thing. I mean, we're still waiting for insurance reports. And I didn't put that in my update. I should have. So let me hit that real quick. We still have not seen any full finalized insurance reports with payments yet from our insurance carrier. And we don't have any information in terms of when those are going to come in. You know, the hope would be is once we start seeing one or two come in, we're going to see a lot come in right behind it, because a lot of these adjusters submitted their reports for all the associations within a week or two of each other, but we haven't even seen one yet. And we really haven't seen any property or wind adjusters reports yet either. So those are definitely two factors that we are going to have to deal with down the road, is, with the cleanup, with the damage and everything, how do we account and pay for all that? And that's going to be part of the process here in the months to come. Why can't the various boards send out a weekly update on the remediation process? In Somerset, the last update was on 11/23. 2 weeks have passed. Yeah, Somerset, the last I talked to them, they've got a board meeting early next week, and I think they plan on sending another update then. But I think for the most part, and maybe Somerset's last one was the 23rd of November. I mean, I trust that's accurate. I just don't remember. But for the most part, I think I've mentioned this to you before. I mean, there is a pretty systematic process going on with your associations meeting weekly, both with Clyde Johnson and their project managers individually, and then also as a group of presidents. And then typically there's an email from your association sent shortly after that. So in specific to Somerset, I know because I talked with them yesterday or Tuesday at that meeting. They are planning an update, but they were going to wait until after Monday's board meeting. So I think it's Monday. Are any associations given preference to year-rounders? I think we probably covered that, or you've seen that already, but the decision to prioritize units or buildings rests with each association. how they wanted to handle that. And there are some that have decided to take up that project. So yeah, that is happening in some associations. How many drywall crews are here now? I don't know how many crews, but I know they had over 20, I think, people starting that process in Somerset, with the expectation to ramp that up. And just so you know, I mean, I think we've seen this already with remediation, in that, with any of these systems, it takes some time for these groups to really kind of find their pace and ramp up. So, I mean, if there's a drywall crew that started yesterday and they only got done with X number of units, I think what we've seen is, as those systems are refined and as more crews come on, that starts to increase. So I think the number of crews will increase, as well as the pace that they're going at. So I don't think anything has been said regarding the entry door and side light panel. Do they need to be replaced or remediated? I hope I'm not forgetting an association, but I'm pretty sure all the associations are going to take care of your front doors if they need to be remediated. I mean, we're pretty sure the front doors are covered on the insurance. Just need confirmation that there's proceeds for those. But because the front doors are all the same, that is something your association will be looking at. And I don't know if any association has actually placed that order yet or not. But as an owner, you do not need to handle the front door of your unit in an association during restoration. Residents that live here 6 to 7 months a year pay the same fees. Please address comments regarding preferences. We are all responsible for our own restoration. I'm not sure I understand that. Residents that live here 6 to 7 months a year pay the same fees. Please address comments regarding preferences. We are responsible for. If you want to try to clarify that, I'll try to answer it. I'm not really sure what your question is there. Is CJC licensed, bonded, and most importantly insured for damages to personal property left in units? CJC is absolutely licensed, bonded, and insured. Yes, they are. Fences down on Bridgestone. Anybody can walk in from the community. We're definitely aware of that. I can tell you, fence vendors, as well as screening and aluminum companies, I mean, literally are months out. So I don't know if you've driven around town at all, but I can tell you, I drive around town a lot. I purposely look at other communities. There's still communities that still have their gates wide open right now. So, I mean, yes, it is a security issue. That's why we continue to have 2 additional security staff on property roaming. But the property line and that fence line is going to be a long-term repair. The other thing that has to happen before we even try to repair any fences is we've got to clear all that debris that's along the fence line. And we're over on Garden Point right now, trying to take care of that section. And as those crews get that cleared, they'll move around and try to clear up areas. If they can put fencing back up, they're going to try to do that. But I can tell you, we definitely have quite a bit of damaged fencing around the property. Can we please get an update within each association of the status of the drywall crews? Well, my understanding is that there's only one association that is completed through the furring and the insulation and the inspection process, and that's Southmont Cove. So the other associations are still in the drywall prep phase. So you're not going to see any drywall crews in your area until you see the furry strips and the insulation up. And then, like I mentioned before, there's an inspection process prior to the drywall going up for that insulation. Is the road nails and sharp objects being addressed? Lots of flat tires being reported. I haven't had one person report to me of a flat tire. Actually, I think you sent me an email, the person that wrote this, telling me about all the flat tires, but I haven't got those reports. Would I expect there to be debris? Absolutely. I don't know if you've driven down Summerlin lately, but it's never a day that I go home that I don't have to avoid some sort of debris that's either flown off a FEMA truck or laying in the road. So, I mean, our crews have tried to keep the streets clean. But I'm I mean, I would think if there's lots of flat tires being reported, I would have heard of a couple, and I haven't heard of those yet. Drywalling 17020 Willow Crest and seams here now for 2 days in the building. How long will it take to drywall a building? Trying to understand what to expect. Some of us are homeless January. Yeah, I think I mentioned that as they get going, I think it'll be a little easier to determine after a couple of days and we see those crews ramp up, exactly the timing of this. And I know at Southmont Cove, I know their board is anxious to provide an update after they get into this process for a day or two. So I would say stand by and they'll give you an update on how long it's taken. But I mean, they started yesterday. So I mean, I don't think it's realistic to be able to sit there and say it's going to be exactly this amount of time, because we know there's more crews coming and we know that they're going to work some efficiencies in the system. So. Also, since you have seen proposals, can you give an approximate price so we know what to expect from the outside contractors? Yeah, I don't have a problem sharing that with you. I will let you know that all of these proposals are based on specific floor plans for your association. So I'm going to give you a big range, because if you're comparing Southmont Cove, for instance, 1,500 square foot floor plan to a 2,300 square foot floor plan in Wedgwood, obviously there's going to be a stark difference. But what I've seen is between $55,000 and $80,000 for what we're calling a complete package. So that would be flooring, that would be cabinetry, your trim, your interior doors, paint, bathroom replacements, tub shower sets, tile in the bathroom, that sort of thing. So I think that's a good estimate right now. I did have comments for each vendor on some of the things that they suggested in terms of their timing as well. So, I mean, they may come back with some slight changes, but I think that is a very, very good estimate right now for these packages, if you will. So, and from what I've seen and heard from other owners who are general contracting out, customized options, I think that's pretty much in the wheelhouse there in terms of doing this in scale. So. And yeah, your second part of your question too, because I know this is going to come up, everybody wants to see these packages, and let's just say we get them out next week. You're not going to know what the insurance proceeds are. I mean, I don't see there's any way that we're going to have that information out to you next week. We haven't even gotten the reports and had a chance to go through them and take out remediation costs. So I'm just being upfront that we'll get this package information to you, but it's going to be well in advance before you know exactly where the insurance proceeds are coming from and how much that's going to be. So that's just kind of the reality of what we're dealing with right now. Is there an A&E needed for garage doors? Yes, they are. There are A&Es for garage doors. Are campers allowed in driveways? So the camper issue, as well as that of pods, are issues that are being addressed within each association. Each association has the ability to request to the LCA board a change in their association policy. And some have moved forward with allowing pods, and some have actually moved forward with allowing a camper or an RV. I will tell you that the associations that have done that are all associations that have driveways. It's really not practical to think that associations where you park your car in a carport can handle those things. They just can't. It's just physically not feasible to think you can park a pod in a carport and then not have additional issues with other cars and things like that. But in terms of our campers allowed, that's maybe why you've seen a camper. Obviously, the estate and villa homes are the two easy ones in terms of driveways. They all have double driveways. They can have a camper in their driveway and still park a car in the driveway if need to. So, would it be possible for info to be sent to the residents of Somerset Villas when drywall is being installed? I don't think that I shouldn't speak for the association and what they're going to communicate on Monday, but I'm not sure they're at a point to where they can tell you exactly when drywall is going to be installed, as you guys are still doing your furring and insulation and final plumbing and electrical checks right now. So remember, I mean, Somerset was more than 2 weeks behind in terms of the vacate order. So, this process has been moving like a process. I mean, the associations that were out in front early with getting organized and vacating and people leaving, they are the ones that are a little bit out in front of this process. And I would expect that to remain through to the end. If our porcelain tile is still there, is it safe to assume it's been assessed and can stay? We have tile ordered for the areas previously with rub, but don't want to take delivery. Yeah, so that's what we've been told from the third party industrial hygienist companies, as well as the insurance agency, is that, unless there's visual proof of water contamination under that tile, and that would mean, bulging tile or a break in the tile, or just being able to see that water got underneath there, that the tile is being left there. So I would say at this point in the process, if your tile is down, more than likely that it's been deemed to be able to stay there. Please clarify, CJC initially were repairing plumbing they damaged. Now we're responsible for repairing broken pipes caused when they removed our tub. That's not accurate at all. I've never said that they're not repairing that. I mean, anything inside those walls are going to be repaired before they put the drywall up. So there's the plumbing and any electrical issue. If an electrical cable was cut, or obviously we've got outlets that needed to be replaced because they were impacted by water, that's all going to be completed in remediation. So I hope I answered that question. How healthy are Lex reserves at present? If you're asking about Lexington Community Association, we carry about $6 million in reserves. Now, a lot of that is for equipment, and we didn't have a lot of damaged equipment. But Lexington Community Association has very sufficient reserve funding. Will insurance reimbursements be restricted to work done by a contractor licensed in Florida? Is it possible to bring in contractors from another state? The distributing of insurance funds is going to be something that's handled directly from your association to you. It will not be dependent on what or how you're restoring your unit. However, like we've said from a month or so ago, it is the owner's responsibility to make sure that you stay in compliance with all state and local laws. It's not the association's responsibility to make sure you do this. It's the owner's responsibility. And if you remember, about a month ago, early November, we have a document that's out there on the website now that really is a restoration resource guide that gives you some links to Lee County and some other things that are helpful information when it comes to getting a contractor and questions about whether you need permitting for certain things and whether they need to be licensed, et cetera. But in terms of being paid out, what you do, it has no effect on the proceeds that you'll get from the insurance policy. Last week, you explained the process for restoration amounts. You said that you thought after the insurance underwriter reviews the claims, then checks for the units will be sent to Lexington. Once Lexington gets the checks for the units, when will they be issued to the homeowners? How will they be issued? And what amount of the claim for unit received will the homeowner get? I mean, some of your questions I can't answer specifically because we need to see those reports, but I can tell you in general what has to happen once those reports are in, and once those checks are in, once those funds are in, and those confirmed reports are in. There needs to be a process to where we can confirm, make sure that there's enough money that we withhold to complete whatever remediation charges that we owe, the association owes, and then whatever the balance is will be for the owner for restoration. Now, could I see a process where an initial portion of that restoration proceeds get sent out more immediately, because I think it's going to take a while to work through the accounting of everything? Yes, I could see that being part of the process where you get maybe an upfront payment, but then know that once everything else is taken care of, the balance will be sent to you. I certainly would fight for that. I think it's important to try to release some of those funds once your association has them. But I think the fine details and timing really need to be sorted out here down the road. But I am letting you know that I believe the administrative process to review these reports and to make sure that we understand final invoicing from Clyde Johnson and that those invoices are accounted for in those claims is going to take some time. I mean, it is not a fast process. From what I'm understanding, these reports are on a building by building basis, and each unit has 20 to 30 pages of line item by line item detail. That's how detailed these flood reports are. So a building like Southmont Cove, that means each building has a report of over 200 pages. So, and that has to be looked over, accounted for, make sure that we understand where the money's going in terms of remediation versus restoration. So what is CJC's timeframe for cleaning remediation? Is just not enough crews working, or maybe not even available to handle 5 associations? I think the last week or so, I've kind of heard the rumblings about, we need more staff, or they need to hire more people. I'm not sure if you all remember before the hurricane, but, we have been dealing with labor issues in Lee County since COVID. For those people that think that the solution to getting this done quicker is to hire more people, that's not a realistic solution. The reality is, and I can tell you because I talk to my peers weekly. I mean, we share a lot of ideas on what we're doing, and we're trying to help each other out, other people in my position at other communities. I can tell you, we are leading the pack in the amount of people that we have working for the contractor on site. I mean, staffing is a major issue all around Lee County, and has been for a while, and is even worse right now. So I would love to have more staff, and I totally agree with you. We need more staff, but I'm in the solution business, and I don't have a solution to acquiring more staff, but I feel like the ones that we've gotten, we've been fortunate to get the amount that we've had to date. And I know they're continually looking for other resources. I mentioned before that they've got another drywall crew coming in. They brought in an additional insulation crew earlier this week. So, they're also trying to fight for those resources. So is Durarock being put in the bathrooms? No, it's not. They're only the drywall. And actually, I should say this, I think, and I could be mistaken here, but I'm pretty sure there was a decision made that they weren't going to put the drywall up around the tubs and showers because the Durarock would need to be placed in there before that. So I think what you may find, and I can confirm this as I start to see some units being drywalled, that the decision was made not to completely drywall out the bathroom, tub, and shower areas, to allow in the restoration process that Durarock to be put in. But Clyde Johnson was never going to put back in Durarock. It was only going to be drywall. But maybe next week I can have a better update for you once I see that. What is the name of the sanitized company that CJ used to sanitize the condos? I don't know, but if you send me an email, I will try to get that contact information for you, but I don't know what the company is. Why can't we get the water mapping reports for our units? I'm not sure we said you couldn't get them. I mean, those water mapping reports were pretty extensive. I mean, if somebody, wanted to see the photos of their units, you could send me an email. I'm going to tell you though, that it's going to show you where they took photos. And I'm telling you what the photo is going to show you. It's going to show you a little electronic reader where the little arm is way up in the red, showing that there's a lot of moisture in your wall. That's what it's going to show you. Remember, the process here was twofold. The water mapping was kind of the first guide, but it was the visual inspection as they got into the unit, looking for mold, looking for watermarks, looking for if water got behind things, that really drove the remediation process more than the water mapping. But that information's there. We put out the summer report for those of you that needed that for insurance purposes, and that's been on the website for some time. Can we tile our bathrooms, bedrooms a while before drywall, since it does not affect insulation and drywall process? At this point, no. I mean, all associations have stood behind the fact that no restoration work can be completed or started before the unit is released from the vacate order. So that answer at this point is no. Is drywall being installed at this time? Yes, drywall started in Southmont Cove this week. Is CJC ordering interior doors? They are not. We've addressed that before. Interior doors are going to be homeowners' responsibility and restoration. There was just too many moving parts with people potentially wanting different hardware or different doors. So that is going to be in restoration, and there are insurance proceeds for all interior doors. You talked about front doors. What about entry door from garage? I don't know. I don't have an answer on that one. I know just in the last week or so, they started talking about front doors. I think some of that, just like the front doors, are going to be based off of what the insurance reports suggest there. But I would assume if the front door is on the insurance report for coverage, then you would think the side garage would be too. But I don't have an answer for that right now. Confused. You said insurance and cleanup, et cetera, require money, of course, but is there not a contracted amount for CJC? You have advanced over $4 million, still no questionable about insurance. I know what my insurance policy is and can anticipate what we will be paid for any claims. Not exactly, but would not buy a policy that I do not. Yeah, I mean, I'll just answer the first part of your question here. No, at this point, we don't know the final charge for Clyde Johnson because, as we've stated before, there were different things that were done on different levels to different buildings. And so, no, we don't have the final bill. And yes, we did advance Clyde Johnson over $4 million, but I'll just give you a quick example here. And this is on the surface, and I'll base it off of what I've seen from some of you all that contracted out your own remediation company. So I'll just give you just a quick insight into some numbers here. You know, remember there was a point in time where we had said, if you're going to contract out your own remediation company, finish your contract. So I've been privy to seeing those contracts. Those contracts range between $12,000 and $30,000. I can tell you, of all the people that contracted out, very few of them did the entire project. They did it right. So if we just use a number of $25,000, let's just say it's $25,000 to remediate a unit, and we've got 500 units to remediate. So you can do the math on that. And then let's also go back and think about all of the debris pickup, all of the assistance in clearing the roadways and things like that were done the first couple of days and even the first week or so of this. That was all Clyde Johnson doing that. And that was all Clyde Johnson doing it at that point in time with no upfront money. And then, yes, we got him a deposit somewhere around the second week of December. That's all the money that we paid to Clyde Johnson. So you can do the math. I said before when this first started, we are talking about tens of millions of dollars in insurance claims across the property. This is big time expense and big time money. So the relationship between us advancing them $4 million and us not knowing what the final amount is, I think that's real. We don't know what the final amount's going to be. But we're going to work through that once we get the insurance reports and once we get the final billing from them. So, and trust me, we fully understand our insurance policies when we purchase them. We're very in tune with that. I have a window and sliders still boarded up. When can I have those replaced by our association, or do I find a vendor? So all the associations are handling window repair replacement. A lot of the window issues are being able to be fixed with a reglazing or a reglassing. I know Waterford had a crew through there recently. They're working around the community, but our understanding is Clyde Johnson has already done a preliminary inventory on window needs, and they're working with a vendor to replace those. But again, that's a long process. Obviously, window companies are as backed up as anybody is, but the windows should be handled by your association. Will each of the 4 or 5 package contractors prepare a proposal for each floor plan, and Wedgwood thus will have 4 or 5 proposals for each floor plan? No, that's not the way we did this. Each vendor was assigned a community, So each vendor has their own community, and within that, they've done an option for each of the floor plans. I can tell you, just because I've seen drafts of these, in some of the communities where the floor plans in terms of square foot is very similar, like a Southmont Cove, I could see them having one price for every floor plan. But when you get into places like Wedgwood that has 7 different floor plans, I could see pricing for packages being based off of which floor plan you have. But again, this package option, there are not a lot of options. That was the whole concept with this. If you want something other than what's presented, you'll need to go out on your own and do that through a general contractor or through yourself, or manage, vendors coming in and doing that. So just one option. I'm a Somerset Villa owner. How do we submit the claim if we use an outside contractor for painting, flooring, kitchen? You don't submit a claim for anything in restoration. Again, restoration, you're going to get proceeds from the association once that is all figured out. And then you can do with it what you want, but you don't submit anything to us or the association for the claim. Remediation should be included per unit in insurances. Absolutely, it is included. Remediation expenses is part of the insurance, yeah. And just so you know, I got a message here as a reminder, just so I don't misspeak, but association documents do require contractors to be licensed and insured in Florida. So I want to make sure that I get that out there. So the questions about, I think the question was in relation to getting insurance proceeds, but adding to that, you do need a licensed Florida contractor and have to be insured in Florida. Do I know the holiday schedule for CJC? Yeah, they told on our meetings, in our association meetings this week, they had mentioned they will probably take Friday, Saturdays. I'm sorry, they'll take Saturday, Sunday, Monday off during Christmas. So the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after, I believe is what they told us. Will there be additional funds for AC units, water heaters after the initial funds are distributed? There won't be additional funds, but those funds will be included in the proceeds. So we're confident that AC units and water heaters, things like that, are included in replacement costs on the claim. Will CJC install turn on water valves on all water outlets, toilets, and sinks? The water will be, your plumbing will be pressure tested and the water will be back on before the vacate order is lifted. Yes. The turn off valves, at least some of those local ones, they're not putting those back on, specifically like maybe under a cabinet. And the reason they're not doing that is if they put those on now, you would have to either take them back off, or you'd have to cut a big hole in the back of your new cabinets to get those cabinets in. So that's why there's just going to be a stub pipe with a cap on it in some of those areas to make the restoration process much easier without destroying new cabinets. How many first floor units are in Southmont Cove Association? 100. Lobbies, elevators, etc. should have insurance quotes, hopefully, and not taking from our individual units. That is correct. They are not taken from the individual units. Those are all separated out, any common areas. All of that is included in the limits of the policy, but at this point in time, there's no concerns about us reaching the limits of the policy. So, but they are in there. Yeah, I'll answer this one. So, because this seems to be the topic du jour this week about drywall and how it was stored in a controlled environment. So, we did have, I am aware of one report of some drywall that had mold on it, and that drywall was thrown out. They've got thousands of sheets of drywall coming from different vendors. I can't tell you that they may not come across another faulty piece of drywall or two. They probably will. But, again, folks, if we want to bash Clyde Johnson because they're not a specialist in remediation, I'll let you know that's a fair argument, even though I think they've done yeoman's work to get us to this point. but they are a general contractor and they've been so for 25 years. So they understand how to put up drywall and what's required. So let's not get too uptight about the fact that there's information flowing through the community that all the drywall has mold in it. If they come across a piece of drywall that has been damaged or compromised, they will throw it away and they'll move on. I think they understand that process. So hopefully we can save any talk or any fingers typing about those drywall issues the rest of the week. What is the process for submitting claims for damaged personal property for CJC, also damaged tiles caused by remediation? We do not have a process for that at this time. We've said before, that's certainly something that we're going to need to work with the associations and Clyde Johnson on in terms of determining, what's going to be done there. But there is no process for that right now. Can I confirm that the Somerset board meeting next week will be available on Zoom? Yes, it will be. Yes. Could CJC remediation process cost erode a large amount of the insurance monies from the owners? For example, the owners only receive a small portion of the restoration money. I think it's too early to tell that. I mean, what the insurance pays is what the industry standards are for remediation. And so, contractors try their best to work within that. Now, with that being said, I can tell you market-driven pricing has everything more expensive right now than anything. I mean, all that are trying to do your restoration work, obviously, if you were trying to buy cabinets 6 months ago, they probably were a little bit cheaper than they are now. So there's going to be some balance there between trying to figure out what the market balance is and also finding out what else we can get from the insurance carrier if the remediation costs come in higher than what was originally put on these insurance reports. But again, I mentioned before, there's plenty of coverage. There's plenty of limit on each policy. It's just a matter of us maybe having to do additional legwork to produce invoicings to our insurance company to say, hey, this is the going rate for remediation or to pull out drywall or that sort of thing. So can we ask CJC not to drywall pocket door openings? They have a carpenter on site. CJC has a carpenter on site, and they are going around and making sure that all hardware that was possibly broken, bent, accidentally removed from pocket doors are reinstalled before hanging drywall. So for those of you talking to your contractors and they're causing you grave concern that you can't hang drywall if you're going to put pocket doors up, the hardware will be installed before they drywall. So your contractor only needs to install the door, not the hardware. Can we see contracts that our association signed with CJC? No reason why you can't. I mean, contracts are, as well as a lot of things, are HOA documentations, and you can make formal requests for those. Please let members know that if their home insurance denies their claim or pays them less than a fair amount, they should go to the Florida Department of Financial Services online. They will set up a mediation and do all the work. After being denied, I got to check. It's not everything I hope for, but it's something. Good input there. Whoever put that on there, I mean, if you've got access to Facebook and you want to put that post up there, we'll certainly approve it on the Lexington site, but that's very good information to pass along, and good to know that. Who will be replacing lanai screens and doors that have been damaged in Southmont Cove? Right now, we're working with a vendor who's doing an inventory throughout all associations on lanai screens as well as railings. We're also trying to work through the insurance process on that to see where the responsibility lies, but that is where we're kind of at in the process now. We are starting to turn some focus to the second levels, the exterior of the buildings and things like that. So hopefully there'll be some more information to come on that very shortly. Can we know just a ballpark minimum we might see from insurance? I honestly, I don't have a ballpark minimum from insurance. If I had something, just like I had the package information estimate, I'm happy to share with you what I have, but I'm not going to guess. And I'm certainly not going to give you an amount that I know isn't something that's been provided to me by a good source. So I wish I could give you a ballpark. I don't have a ballpark on that, unfortunately. Is the social fee of $700 still going to be required even though we cannot occupy our condo? I'm assuming you're saying social fee, or you mean the food and beverage minimum? And if you are, I could lie and say that I'm taking that away for everybody right now, but that would be a lie. We actually didn't have that in the budget last year. So the board approved doing away with the food and beverage minimum effective May 1st last year. So if that's what you're referring to, there is no food and beverage minimum going on right now. So. Will they finish Southmont Cove drywall before they start another association? I think that really depends on when the next association is ready for drywall, after they get the drywall prep done and be inspected. But I think you'll see them do what they did before is, as associations became ready for the next phase, they began to spread out resources. I mean, that's what happened in the early stages of pulling out flooring and carpet and things like that. Insurance companies should give market values. Yes, they absolutely should, and they do give market values, but those values are updated in a program called Accumate that is only updated about every 45 days. So, something that would have been updated in mid-September certainly could change dramatically based on market conditions if an adjuster put that report together in mid-October, if it hadn't been updated yet. So, but they do, they give the market value, as well as our insurance has recoverable depreciation as well, which is a very good thing to have for your insurance. So are the associations planning on bringing in a public adjuster? They very well may. Yes. I mean, there's always a right time to consider that, but it's not until you get that first report from your insurance company. Because if we were to brought them in by now, they're guaranteed 10% of everything that we get in. And there's no reason to bring in a public adjuster because we haven't gotten a settlement offer from the insurance company yet. So. Structural damage, a question about that. So if they found any structural damage, and I'm not aware of any that they found, they've corrected that as they go. I know there were some people, quite a few of y'all, that were reporting cracks in your flooring when the floor was removed. That those were all determined to be normal settling, nothing structural there. So they are completing a full roof inspection. Should be, hopefully at this time, any roof issues have gotten emergency covering or emergency repair. But they're completing a full roof inspection for all associations, and those reports will be forthcoming. And then your associations will work on fixing those roofs. I think I said before, but I don't expect the 4 associations other than Sutton Walk to get a new roof out of this. I just don't think the damage was that significant. And for a hats off, I think that damage probably wasn't as significant because the company that put that roof on did a really good job. So, is the Sutton Walk pool up and running yet? No, we are. Sorry about that. I should have updated you. We are still waiting on a regulation pump for that Sutton Walk pool, even though it looks crystal clear and beautiful, because they're maintaining it every morning. That pump actually is what balances the chemicals throughout the day. So we are waiting on that, and we're still waiting on a pump for the Wedgwood pool. So that's why those 2 pools are not open yet. So are we allowed to replace lanai screens and railings before CJC? Do not replace those, and CJC is not replacing those. That'll be a different contractor that your association has hired. And I think I just mentioned that that contractor is right now getting us a quote on that. But I will tell you that he's already told us they are 10 to 16 weeks out on any work. And I can tell you're not going to find anybody in the aluminum business that's going to give you a better number than that, at least not in the scale that we're doing it, because most of these guys are months out. So, okay, we're going to wrap it up. We'll definitely do another one next week. And just so you know, we're not doing them on Tuesdays on purpose because I'm waiting to make sure that I've got enough to report to you on. So if something happens and we've got some things that we think is important to push out, we'll do it early next week. If not, I'll probably do it later in the week, and maybe there's a better chance I'll have information on those packages. So, okay, you guys all have a good day. Thanks for coming out.